There's a moment near the end of Parasite that I cannot stop thinking about. Mr. Park is standing over Gunse trying to get the car keys, and then he catches the smell. He covers his nose, Ki-tae sees him do it, and something in him just breaks. He grabs the knife and kills him. At first it seems like an absurdly small thing to trigger such a huge act of violence, but that smell has been following Kim-tae through the entire film. Let's find out. If you notice earlier, Mr. Park describes it. It's the smell that comes from the subway. The smell that he says crosses a certain line, and the Kims know exactly what he's talking about because they live in a banjiha. Their windows are almost at street level, they're damp, they're cramped, they're vulnerable to flooding. So when Mr. Park smells the Kims, he's not really smelling them, he's smelling where they live, and that's what makes the moment so cruel, because the Kims have spent the entire film trying to escape exactly that. Look at what they do. Ki-woo invents a university background. They become tutors, art therapists, drivers, and housekeepers. So they learn the language of the rich, and it works for a while, but then Mr. Park leans over and says essentially there's something about their smell, and suddenly all those carefully constructed identities disappear, because you can fake a resume, you can fake an accent, you can even fake your manners, but you cannot easily fake the physical environment you've spent years living in, and that idea actually has a name. A French sociologist called Pierre Bourdieu spent much of his career thinking about exactly this problem. He argued that class isn't usually about how much money you have, it's something you absorb, and he called this habitus. And Parasite takes that very abstract idea and makes it incredibly physical. It makes class something you can smell. But the even stranger part about this is the place producing that smell has a history. The banjiha wasn't originally created as a cheap housing. In the 1970s, South Korea was deeply worried about another attack from North Korea, and thus building regulations required that basement spaces which could serve as shelters. And then the city grew, and some of those basement spaces became homes. So the room where the Kims live began as something built for a war that never came, and decades later it's where a family is trying to survive in a completely different kind of war. And that's why the architecture in Parasite is so brilliant. The Parks live above ground, the Kims live halfway underground, Gunse lives completely underground, and the whole film is basically about people moving between those levels until the rain comes. And the Parks wake up the next morning complaining about the weather, and the Kims go home to find their neighborhood underwater because water runs downhill. And in Parasite, so does class. And that's why the smell matters. It's not really about body odor, it's about the fact that the past can stay in your body, and eventually that is enough to make Ki-tae snap.